Hey everyone, my name is Hannah Reynolds and I am your child's algebra teacher for the 2022-2023 school year. I want to discuss the Algebra 1 end of course exam that will be administered to your child at the end of the school year on May 16, 2023. I know you may have some questions regarding this assessment and what it intends to measure about your child's mathematical reasoning and problem-solving skills. I hope to answer any questions about this assessment and how it will affect your child's grade in my Algebra 1 course, as well as their future in mathematics. We will also talk about the reliability and validity of this assessment. What is the Algebra EOC? The Algebra EOC is a statewide assessment that measures students' level of mastery of the 2015 South Carolina College and Career Ready Standards for Algebra 1. The End of Course Examination Program, or the EOCEP, is a statewide assessment program for gateway courses awarded units of high school credit in English language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies. The State Department of Education has named Algebra 1, Intermediate Algebra, Biology 1, English 2, and United States History and the Constitution as these gateway courses that require an end-of-course exam. These end-of-course exams each count 20% of the student's final grade. Students are permitted to use calculators on the algebra exam. They may use handheld calculators that fit the criteria for calculators on this exam, or they may use the online Desmos calculator that will be provided on the exam for them. The algebra exam consists of 50 operational items with 5 to 10 field questions. As they are taking the test, students will not know which of the 5 to 10 questions will be scored as field questions. There will also be 2 to 6 technology-enhanced items. To meet federal accountability requirements, the Algebra EOC must be administered to all public school students in the state of South Carolina, including students with disabilities served under the Federal Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. Algebra EOC items are aligned to the 2015 South Carolina College and Career Readiness Standards for Algebra 1. These content standards describe what teachers are expected to teach and what students are expected to learn. The Algebra EOC items are written to assess the content knowledge and skills described in these academic standards. Supporting documents are also available to provide more detailed, concrete example problems within each of these content standards. What is reliability, and how do we know if the Algebra EOC is a reliable test? Reliability equals consistency. An assessment is reliable if it measures the same thing consistently and reproducibly. I like to think of reliability as a kitchen scale. If the scale is reliable, when you measure a bag of flour on the scale today, it should produce the same weight on the scale as tomorrow. If it does not produce the same weight, then we could say this scale is unreliable. To ensure good test reliability, tests must be administered under the same favorable environmental conditions, such as the same time of day, the same classroom where learning takes place, and ensuring students eat before taking the test. Directions for the test should be clear so that students understand exactly what the question asks. Multiple choice tests should clearly have one correct answer. According to Pompom, there are 3 types of reliability evidence, including test-retest reliability, alternate form reliability, and internal consistency. Test-retest reliability refers to consistency of results among different testing occasions. Alternate form reliability refers to consistency of results among 2 or more different forms of a test. And finally, internal consistency refers to consistency in the way an assessment's individual items function. Ideas for improving reliability for the Algebra EOC. Number 1, use enough questions to assess competence of standards. The more questions equals higher reliability. The Algebra 1 exam scores at least 50 questions, and then there will be 5 to 10 field questions as well. 50 questions is a good balance to produce a good reliability without having too many questions on the test. Number 2, have a consistent environment for participants. Number 3, ensure participants are familiar with the assessment user interface. For example, the South Carolina State Department of Education provides an online training tools for students and teachers to become familiar with the format of the test. Using these online training tools in advance will help the students to become familiar with the test, thus producing more reliable results. Number 4, measure reliability. And then finally, number 5, conduct regular item analysis to weed out ambiguous or poor performing questions. Because this is a state level assessment, test developers make sure that this test is reliable by measuring the reliability and using regular item analysis to weed out those ambiguous or poor performing questions. Number 2, what is validity and how do we know if the Algebra EOC is a valid test? Validity equals accuracy. Validity refers to test-based interpretations of the accuracy of an educational assessment. In other words, how well did the students master a curricular aim or aims, or skill or body of knowledge within a particular course? Validity equals interpretation of accuracy. It's important to know that tests themselves do not possess validity. Educational tests are used so that educators can make interpretations about a student's status. There is no such thing as a valid or invalid test. A well-constructed test, if used with the wrong group of students or if administered under unsuitable conditions, can lead to a set of unsound and thoroughly invalid interpretations. 2 common sources of validity evidence for educators. Number 1, test content. This is the extent to which an assessment procedure adequately represents the content of the curricular aims being measured. So does the Algebra 1 EOC adequately measure the curricular aims or academic content standards that are being taught to them throughout the course? And number 2, relations to other variables. This is the degree to which an inferred construct is predictably correlated to measures of similar and dissimilar variables, including foreseen and unforeseen consequences. The higher the stakes associated with the test use, the more effort is typically devoted to making certain that the content of the assessment properly represents the content in the curricular aim being involved. Because the Algebra EOC is a statewide assessment, substantial attention by South Carolina state test developers is given to the task of verifying that the test content suitably represents the state's most important curricular aims or content standards. This is just a snapshot of the Algebra 1 EOC blueprint for 2022-2023. At the beginning of every school year, I receive a copy of this blueprint that shows the reporting categories, the key concepts, number of standards, and number of items per reporting category. And I just use this as like a roadmap for my teaching throughout the year to make sure that I truly focus on those high priority standards that will be assessed on this end of course exam. For example, you can see the first reporting category is algebra. Key concepts include arithmetic with polynomial and rational expressions, creating equations, reasoning with equations and inequalities, structure, and expressions. There are 20 standards that are related to these key concepts. So this provides the majority of the test questions that will be on this end of course exam. As you can see, there are 21 to 25 questions that will be related to these key concepts. So I use this as a guide truly to make sure that I have taught these key concepts and that students truly understand these main ideas that will be presented to them on this end of course exam. The relationship between reliability and validity. A test cannot be valid if it is not reliable. Without consistency, there can be no accuracy. However, a test can be reliable, but it may not be valid. A test can consistently measure the wrong thing. For example, the scale that I referred to earlier can consistently measure the wrong weight. So it can be reliable, but it may not necessarily be valid. Conclusions about the Algebra EOC. Based on my understandings of reliability and validity, I believe that the Algebra EOC produces a high reliability and sound evidence of validity. It is up to the classroom teacher to create favorable conditions for consistency. The South Carolina State Department has provided teachers and students with online tools training that allow us to become familiar with the format of the test, as well as the online Desmos calculator that can be used during the exam. It is up to teachers to practice these tools to ensure reliable test results. The South Carolina State Department also provides teachers with a testing blueprint for the Algebra EOC, allowing us to review those high priority standards and to ensure that we have provided plenty of instruction on those key academic skills and concepts that will be presented to students on the exam. Thank you so much for watching my video about the Algebra 1 EOC and how it relates to reliability and validity. If you have any questions about the Algebra EOC and its reliability and validity and how it may affect your students' grade in my course as well as their future in mathematics, please reach out to me and let me know, and I will